Hello, everyone. My name is Ekaterina Kardakova. I'm an opera singer, voice, and public speaking coach. And this is my podcast, The Sound of Success. Today, I'm so glad to have my guest, Leo Shapira, who is a marketing consultant for early stage startups. And we will talk about LinkedIn, why you should go and make yourself visible on LinkedIn and how to do it. Hi, Leo. Thanks for joining me today on this episode of my podcast.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm happy to be here. If you will look me up, you will probably see also my original name, which is Kafir. But I go by Leo because I moved to live in Europe, and well, it makes more sense here.
So, you're an expert for LinkedIn. What do you think? Why people should use LinkedIn more than usual? So, what is
Um,
about what is about LinkedIn that more and more people actually should be more visible on? Not only be silent, but also be visible.
I'll say this way. First of all, I'm not sure that for everyone, LinkedIn is the right platform. I think the correct question is LinkedIn the right platform for you and under which circumstances? And to answer that, I'll say that a while ago, I have like a couple of thousands of followers on my profile on LinkedIn. And a while ago, I was speaking to someone else and I mentioned the word influencer. And then he replied to me, so now influencers only has a couple of thousands of followers and you can already be considered influencer. And then I said, well, on LinkedIn, you don't consider your followers by how many of them you have, but maybe by their net value. And this is kind of like what LinkedIn is all about. LinkedIn is the most prestige platform out there, the one where the value per contact that you have has the highest potential, because usually you will find there the leadership of the most of the industries in the world, especially tech industries, um, are very, very active on LinkedIn, making it the perfect platform for B2B operations. So especially if you're in the B2B environment, you want to become visible on LinkedIn. And I'll tell you more than that. I'm saying that from the perspective of if you're looking for B2B customers, but basically most of us are in the B2B um, industry because most of us are employees or want to become tech employees. And when you sell your time, even for a salary, you are selling it to a business and you are doing like your customers are businesses and a lot of times tech businesses, making LinkedIn the most interesting platform to play in. Um, I'll add one more thing. In the last years, what happened, and again, this is my perspective on this. I think that what happened with LinkedIn in the last years that made it become so powerful and so popular is that the generation, I call it our generation grew up from being users of maybe first Facebook for some of us, or maybe Instagram first for some of us, and now the TikTok generation is growing up. And as they grow up, they look, they become entrepreneurs or they become service providers, and starting to look into B2B kind of development, or starting to look for jobs or become more and more professional at their jobs. And so they go on LinkedIn. But these generations came on LinkedIn with the knowledge and experience of using Instagram and TikTok, and it have become from a platform for just managing your CV to a super active social media platform with tons of activity and communities and a lot of things that are happening. Hence my decision, although I'm a consultant, I don't do only LinkedIn. I do a variety of, like, when I consult, I could do Google Ads as well and run campaigns on variety of platforms, and from conferences to advertising to social posts. LinkedIn as a decision as my personal decision to focus on LinkedIn and to speak with you on LinkedIn comes from me seeing this trend of LinkedIn becoming so much more popular in the recent years, and making it just for my own personal development a good idea to choose this niche to focus on and to make content about and to track. Actually, this is just the doorstep. Like, usually potential customers that come to consult with me, we start from LinkedIn and then we move to the rest of the channels. But LinkedIn is so hot right now that it's a really, really great first step at the door. This is from my own business.
And how really the algorithm of LinkedIn works?
Okay, yes.
Is it
Uh,
predictable? Because from my user experience, I get so frustrated by Instagram, TikTok not, but TikTok also changed something lately in the last week. So it can be so frustrating.
what you're asking is this $1 million question. Can you even tell how the algorithm of LinkedIn works? And the answer is yes and no. The no part is that no matter how much I'll explain it, I cannot predict by 100% how your actions will impact the like what happens behind the scenes, and it changes all the time, and there is way too many parameters to try to track. So we can optimize, but to say, let's make a viral post is not a realistic goal. You need there is too many parameters that take in account. Having said that, you've mentioned Instagram. And my personal journey with LinkedIn, in my background, I'm an entrepreneur and I've built software companies. And one of my software companies was a tracker for Instagram. You spoke about Instagram. And we tried to crack how does the algorithm of Instagram works. And when we started researching this question, we stumbled upon an article by a guy called Adam Mosseri. Have you ever heard of Adam Mosseri?
Not yet, no.
Yes, he's one of the less famous CEOs. He's the CEO of Instagram. And he published an article where he explains how the algorithm works. So anything that I will say to you that will make perfect sense is based on what like there is tons of conspiracy around, like there is people, if you will look for it online, you will see a lot of people are saying, yeah, click this button and it will do this and that, which is not verified. I prefer to refer to more verified aspects of how the social algorithm works. And the best source of information I had so far was this specific article. And I want to say, the first thing that I want to say is that there is no such thing as the LinkedIn algorithm. There is no such thing as the Instagram algorithm. I call it the multi-algorithms let's call it the architecture. In the architecture of LinkedIn, when you post a new post, it is one algorithm that ranks this post. I will talk in a second a little bit about how, but it will be a completely different algorithm if you post a video, if you post a text post, if you repost a post of someone else, if you on Instagram, for example, just to give yeah, I will refer to Instagram. There is a completely different algorithm for the feed. When you just open Instagram and you get the feed, or when you move to the explore page, these are two different algorithms. So we're looking for some common ground that is across all of these algorithms. And if we would have to say that if I would have to pinpoint a couple of common grounds between all of them, you can say that things like, okay, here is something that actually makes sense, right? When you post a new post, in the first, let's say 1 hour, or we don't know exactly the time, but a good ballpark is to say in the first 1 hour, your post is in the eyes of the algorithm in a learning mode. And the algorithm, what it does, it starts measuring, it starts giving exposure to your post. So what does it mean to give exposure? It means that when someone in your friends list, in your network, when someone, it ranks it at the top. Because when you open LinkedIn, the algorithm then need to choose who's going to, like which post is going to be shown first. And if I am in your network, if I follow you, Ekaterina, and by the way, if I engaged before with your posts, then I will be more likely to see your posts first. So that when you post a new post, if it happened to be at the time where your first initial followers, including me, are active on LinkedIn, I will open LinkedIn, then there is a high chance you will get an impression. It's called an impression for your post. So you will get a couple of those in the first hour or so of the post. And the algorithm will start measuring all kind of different metrics of engagement of me, your biggest fan. I'm the guy that engaged the most with your post recently. And it will calculate my engagement. So if I will click the like button, it's a great engagement. If I will repost, even greater engagement. But actually, you know what is the best metric for engagement, at least in my opinion, and it's kind of being said also in that article that I mentioned. Time on post. If I will engage with your post, if I will just not scroll down and I will stay on your post for a long time, it will give a great signal. So the algorithm, and this is again just one aspect of the algorithm in general, chooses, takes your post, exposes it in the first hour to your biggest fans, to the people that are your biggest followers, and it checks, do they engage with it? Because if they will not engage with it, if they will not spend time on it and like it and share it and repost it, etc., and comment, what will happen? Can you guess what happens then? It makes sense, of course, it's logical.
Well, basically, maybe they will see my post more often.
Okay, yes,
Or
we will see your
month.
post, but if we will not engage with it, the next thing that happens is that the post starts dying
Yeah, yeah.
because the algorithm will, well, here is a feature of LinkedIn, which happens also on other platforms. Sometimes you scroll on LinkedIn and you see a post, and suddenly you see a post of someone that you don't follow. It's a post that is recommended to you. How does it get there? What is the algorithm of recommendations? So here is an example of how it can happen. If your biggest fans, your friends, your followers, if they will not engage with your post in the recommendations algorithm, you will not even be considered as a candidate for recommendations. But if your fans, your best friends, your followers, your first connections, if they will comment and engage and like it and etc., it will give a strong signal to the algorithm of LinkedIn saying, hey, wow, this is a great post. Maybe you should expose it. So let's say that we did, everybody liked, everybody commented, it will start exposing it to people that are outside of your network through the recommendations algorithm, through whatever other placements that LinkedIn might have for you. And then it will start measure how people that are not your biggest fans react to it.
Mm.
So if they will react to it, it will continue expanding and expanding and expanding its reach until it will start showing it to people that don't react to it. So when we consider something going viral, it means going viral to a limited scope. So nothing goes viral to the entire globus. Okay, maybe. I don't think anything
It's so
can go
interesting
that far.
that you explained, because I was thinking, when you caught my attention, I was thinking about one post I actually wrote, I think 2 weeks ago, about how to build, because I have an edtech company. And it's very challenging in Germany to run a tech company, because the environment is really anti-innovational, anti-tech, despite all these images. And I wrote the post about the reality and the image, like the illusion, the image of the motor of Europe, and the reality, where you don't even have a stable internet in Germany. And I see the statistic, and this post really, since 2 weeks, explode, like, I don't understand. How is it possible? And I see that people, even they don't react. It says like reached people, thousand, etc. And like people read, even that they don't react, but they read. And I mean,
Yes,
if
yes,
I,
it's time on post. It's the
yeah,
most important metric. People underestimate it, but because you can ask your friends, you can tell them to like the post, you can send, and it's a best practice when you post a new post. For example, probably the next question is going to be what are the best practices? One of them is because the first hour of the post is the hour when you're being measured. On the first hour after posting something on LinkedIn, send it to as many people as possible. But if they will go in and like it will be a signal. It is a signal to the algorithm. But if
comment.
if it organically, people will get exposed to it, will actually read it, will actually spend time on the post, There is like you can't like the algorithm is smart enough to know what's a real engagement and what isn't. So by the way, the best tip in that sense is actually not to like okay there okay, is this the next is the next question some tips? Can I start sharing
Yeah,
just ideas of
please.
how to okay, cool. So here's a couple of optimizations that you can do. So for example, you're talking about tech in Germany. Let's use your use case. And for every person, for every type of content, for every audience that you're targeting, it might be a little bit different. Let's take your use case, and everybody can think of their own use case. In your use case, you're saying, it's a tech company, it's in Germany. I'm assuming that the customers might be okay. Let's say a little bit different use case. Let's say that I want to target tech companies in Germany. If I want to target tech companies in Germany and I want to target some decision makers in tech companies, one of the things that I might want to consider is to post between Monday and Friday, maybe not even Friday, because nobody has attention on Friday. Everybody are waiting for the weekend. Monday to Thursday within the working hours. So like the time of my posting might be meaningful because this is the time where they are most likely on LinkedIn, because on the rest of the time they go to Instagram, they go to the rest of the platforms. By the way, in general, if you're doing it on LinkedIn, this is one of the best practices. I mentioned previously that another best practice is when you share when you just post. If you can find community, like if you are in communities, I'm a member of a couple of communities of marketers and marketing consultants, and a lot of times I would post something and I would share it in that community, in these communities, or with friends, or with like there is something called power groups where like people just go to like kind of like you share your post and they like it, and they share their post, and sometimes you go in and like their posts. If you can find yourself these kind of groups, or if you have a list of people that you can send your posts to, that's great. Do it on the first hour. So that will increase the engagement in the learning period. Um, and okay, couple of more tips just to make it quick, because I know that we're short in time and people are listening to this, and we need to be like direct with them. So very important, do not post links on social platforms. Not on Facebook, on Instagram, it's not possible, not on LinkedIn. What do I mean by that? I don't mean don't post links. I mean, if you wrote, let's say that you wrote an article and you want now to share your article, we are planning an event together, which we'll talk about probably in the end. When you have an event, don't post a direct link to sign up to the event on LinkedIn.
I,
Instead,
I, I do this mistake. I'm sorry.
everybody does it. It's like the number one tip that I tell
What
to everyone
what
all the
what to
time.
do?
Let me first tell you why it's not. Okay, here is another thing about the algorithm of LinkedIn and algorithm of socials. LinkedIn, with all due respect to us, makes money from advertisements, which means that LinkedIn, the algorithm optimizes and shows you content and exposes content that makes people stay in the platform. So when you organically, not through an advertisement, put a link to outside of LinkedIn, you hurt LinkedIn main KPI, which is main how to say KPI in simple words, main objective to keep people on the platform. So if you are posting a link that sends people outside of the platform, what incentive do you give LinkedIn to expose your post? On the other hand, if you will post an interesting story about the event with a picture and say, hey, in the first comment, or even in the post, but in the end of the post, not a post that is entirely a link, but just in the end of the post, you will put a link outside, or you will say, if you want to sign up, it's in the first comment. Then you will give you will get the traffic from, or your post will get the exposure, and LinkedIn will be more forgiving for sending the traffic out, because the people that will get to the first comment already read all of the posts, already engaged in the platform. You kept within the metrics that are important to LinkedIn.
This is very good to know because I'm always wondering. I write a long post that it's very, I think, important because I explain people why I would like to invite them to my sessions, and then no one sees it. No one sees this post.
Try to post
I
it
put
from
the
now on with the link in the first comment and a picture that is relevant in the post, and see if it makes any difference. It will be very interesting to hear your feedback on that. Let me give you more, okay? You ready? Two
yeah.
more. We're short in time, so I'm trying to do. Okay. You don't have to create content all the time. We're talking here about content creation. The last tip will be profile optimization, and then we'll talk about our next collaboration. So first, we're still in content creation, right? So you don't have to create new content all the time. And not a very, very good way to create content or to post content is it's called to curate great content. If I post an article that I read this week, a piece of news, a screenshot of an article posted on whatever, Financial Times magazine or whatever, a screenshot of anything that is not just to create this content from scratch, but to repost something that someone else did, I get two things from it. First of all, it's much easier to create it. It's so much easier to collect content from others rather than create content ourselves. And the second thing that I get, which connects to the next point, is I get to mention the other person. I get to credit. And if these people that I credit are important for my networking efforts, let's say there are other thought leaders in my industry, they are potential customers. Sometimes potential customers are absolutely posting content all the time. And I get to mention them in a post, then I gain a collaboration, a kind of like I force on them the collaboration, but it's a form of collaboration. And I don't mean to repost. I don't mean click on the repost button because reposts on LinkedIn are getting low exposure. They are, well, when you repost a piece, it usually doesn't get a lot of exposure to your own network, but it gives a strong signal and improve the visibility or pushes the original post. It's like a comment or like. It's a great signal for their post, but it doesn't get a lot of exposure in your post. Instead of reposting, you might want to maybe take a screenshot, write a post about it, and post it as an original post on your profile. So potentially not just reposting a screenshot of their post on LinkedIn, but actually going into, let's say that they're talking about some software, go into the software yourself, take a screenshot, write a post about it, and then tag the other person. So to curate content from others is a great way, and to collaborate with other people, like our collaboration right now, in as many situations as possible to create content together brings two voices to the table. So it's much easier to create the content this way. And then it exposes you to both networks. Right now, you're going to post this podcast. I'm going to share it. We both get exposure to each other's network. That's amazing. That's like doubling my network and doubling your network in one post. So as many of these as you can create. And the last thing, wow, it's a long list. The last thing is to optimize your profile. And maybe on that, we might want to say, okay, let me explain first why, and then maybe you can tell us about, you can share about the news that we have to share. Okay, so let's start with why. Let's say that I did all of the efforts. I listened to everything that Leo said. I posted right in the right hours. I made sure to send it to all of my friends and I joined power groups. I curated content and I did a collaboration with another person. I didn't post the link and I posted a picture and everything. I got the exposure. I got much, much, much more exposure. By the way, it's not like my one post went viral. This is not how I measure it. I look at how much exposure all of my posts got in April versus how much all of my posts got in March. It's much more interesting because you can't have expectations on one post. You have to be consistent over time. It's just too much to expect. Anyway, let's say that I did get the exposure. Now it's time to cash on it. Like if I'm on LinkedIn, maybe what I'm looking for is meetings or connections or potential job offers if I'm looking for a job, or potential meetings if it's customers. Now what happens is I get exposure and people go into my profile. But then my profile looks like I don't have or I have a cover image from my last job position, or I have we're going to talk a lot about how optimizing the profile is an entire session that you're going to tell about. But if I don't optimize, if my profile is not optimized, then what it's called a funnel, like in a marketing funnel, I get a lot of exposure and then people get to my profile and then they drop because it was nice to read the post, but the next part, if I want followers, they will not follow because it doesn't look professional enough. It didn't convince them, it didn't catch them. So for what happens down the funnel of my traction, my funnel to create traction on LinkedIn, and what happens after I get all of this exposure also need to be optimized. And we do that through LinkedIn optimization. And I'll tell you a small secret about it. If you get a new follower on LinkedIn or a lot of people are sending you connection after a post, it gives, going backwards to the question of can we know how the algorithm works? If I get these kind of signals that LinkedIn sees that my posts are getting like that, not that I have a lot of followers. This is not as important as how many new followers did I gain recently. This is a much stronger signal. So if I'm constantly generating new followers, new connections, people are showing interest in me, it gives me more chance in my next post and in my next content to get more exposure.
Mm. And if you want to learn more about this, on the 5th of May, we have an online session with Leo on in my meetup group. I will also write in the comments. I will leave a link in the comments
Please.
on all my social media, on LinkedIn, of course, in the comments now this time. LinkedIn, Telegram, YouTube. You will find all the information on my social media. This is very, very interesting. Thank you so much. In these 25 minutes, I learned a lot. Yeah, and I'm very happy to listen to your session one more time. Thank you very much for coming to my podcast. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for having me today.
Thanks.